see that? That was bullshit. What the fuck? That was fucked up. It was not my fault that I died. That was stupid. Sorry, no, I have to restart. I can't believe I missed that note. Sorry, I got annoyed. Hold on, let me advertise my stream a little bit more. I have to move my tablet. It's not working. This is too much. Hello. Good day. Uh-oh, wait. Oh, I can hear myself. Uh-oh. Let's not do that. Let's pull up some music, actually, because I forgot to do that because I was listening to myself. So let's not do that. You're good. Hello. This is technically my second stream in college, but the first one was limited because it was an ASMR stream. But now it's not ASMR because it's the same time as last time, but like I'm not whispering now. You can hear me at full volume actually because I am speaking at full volume, and I moved my mic, and I have chips because dinner doesn't. I don't get dinner until like 6 something. No, that's a lie. I don't get dinner until 5. Wait, when's my dinner? Do I have time to get dinner? Because I have rehearsals today. Oh, I have rehearsals late this evening. Hell yes. Alright, so I do have time for dinner, which I'm getting dinner at like 6 something, which means we're gonna stream until like 5 something. So we're gonna cover more of Changeling, which was the visual novel that I started a few streams ago. It's basically, to summarize, I am this girl named Amber. I forget my last name, but her name is Amber because I'm Amber, obviously. And she moved back to this small little town with her brother, mom, and dad. And she recently just started school again, and ran into, I think, 6 or 7 of these kind of mysterious guys who are obviously the love interests. And we ended when we found out that, hey, all the guys you ran into, as well as your best friend, are all supernaturals. They're all some kind of supernatural creature, and we found out that our character is also a supernatural of some kind. And we ended right as I unlocked the Elias path, I think his name was, which he's like the shy, introverted, kind of emo vampire guy. Hence why we're talking about vampires. Vampires have been on my mind a lot lately. They have been like, I've been writing stories about them. I've just kind of been thinking about them. I really like vampires. So we're gonna see if we go down this Elias path, though I do remember there was like kind of that other character who was like cold. He had like a coldness around him, who I really liked, who I was really attracted to, maybe. So I wanted to see if I could maybe go down his path, but if we can't, then we're just gonna commit to Elias, because he's a vampire, like turned or not, I don't care. He's a vampire and he's cute and sweet, and so like we're gonna go with what we've got. So I'm gonna switch over now so that we can start getting some gameplay in. Oh, hopefully that shows up. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I forgot to add this. There we go. Okay, all good. Now I can actually see you guys chat, and I'm gonna move this to the other side, because that's just how my screens are orientated. I have to turn off the music. Oh my god. I know what I'm doing, I swear. And then I have to unmute the game. There we go. We got our magical, mystical music. As always, let me know if the audio levels are weird. I might try and eat chips because I'm like a little bit hungry. So I'll just mute my mic so you don't hear my crunching. But alas, there was singing. I was lost in the dark, and all I was aware of was that sound as it led me on, flickering in my head like a faint light. So I assume we left off as I am dreaming, is what I believe this is. Surely I was dreaming again. But not a normal dream, because there was nothing but the dark, the biting cold, and tiny voices leading me forward. The whisper of footsteps through withered undergrowth cut through the song, and a part of my mind wondered why everything in this dream was so muffled and strange. I tried to roll over and bury myself in my blankets, but found I couldn't. And why is it so cold? Amber. My voice sounded thick, uneasy, and so far away. Amber? The darkness receded a bit, but it was so difficult to open my eyes. My body feels heavy. Something warm touched my arm. I jolted awake. Wednesday, October 20th. The singing screeched to a halt like someone yanking the needle across an old vinyl record. I flinched away from the sound even though it was only in my head. Sensation hit me again. I shivered violently in the night air. My brain slowly tried to catch up to what my eyes were seeing. I wasn't in bed. I was standing at the edge of the woods, staring into the shadows beneath the trees. This again. As the wind gusted through the branches, I shivered, and not just because of the cold this time. I'd been sleepwalking again, and I'd managed to get outside, again. Why was this suddenly happening? It was already the third time since we moved back that I'd done this. Amber? Ah! I whirled around, arms flailing out at the unexpected sound. My hand connected solidly with something, which I instantly realized was someone's face. Not just someone, though. Elliot, not Elias. Elliot. You're going to try to analyze your background. Give me a second. This is all my roommate. This is the roommate side, because obviously all my stuff is set up on my side of the room. So in the background, you're seeing all of my roommate stuff. Hello, Epsilon. Nice to see you in a chat. Thanks for hanging out. You get a cookie. It's a coming back cookie for my coming back stream. Yeah, you can't see any of my stuff because it's all on my side and off camera, but this is all my roommate stuff. Elliot. I froze, my hand still planted awkwardly on his cheek. Oh, jeez. I ripped my hand away anxiously and pressed it to my mouth in horror. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. No, are you okay? I am so sorry. Even in the moonlight, I could see the splotchy handprint on his cheek. Oops. I'm fine. He moved closer and I caught the glint of his pale eyes in the moonlight. The night cast eerie shadows across his pale face, and I suddenly found myself swallowing nervously as I remembered my goofy neighbor was, in fact, a vampire. Are you okay? I saw you walking to the woods, but you didn't answer when I called out. He set a cold hand on my shoulder and looked down at me, concerned. You seemed a little distracted. That voice in my sleep must have been Elliot. I'm okay, I think. Your face, though, I'm sorry. It's really fine. Something like this won't even leave a mark. I'm really sorry. I didn't realize anyone was behind me. He released my shoulder and rubbed the back of his neck. It's okay, though I have to say, you hit pretty hard if you say for a girl, I am going to hit you again. I was going to say for someone so small. I punched him on the arm. Ow! He laughed and rubbed his shoulder. The smile quickly faded as he studied me again. His expression was uncharacteristically serious. You shouldn't be outside alone at this time of night, though. He's not going to ask why I'm out here in the first place. I wouldn't have had a coherent answer anyway, but it was odd that he wasn't curious. Then again, he was outside too. Maybe this was typical cryptic behavior. They're called cryptics. Right. It's all coming back to me. I understand. I should just go back inside. It's probably a good idea. It's not really safe out here this time of year. Especially when you're running around in your pajamas. Yeah, that's also a bit, His eyes traveled over my mostly bare shoulders, my neck. I reached up self-consciously to adjust the thin straps of my pajama top. Why is he staring like that? His lips parted again, but he didn't say anything. I suddenly remembered every single vampire movie that I had ever seen, the ones where just the sight of a bare neck could send a vampire into a frenzy. Don't tell me he's... Amber? My heart lodged in my throat as he took a step toward me. This is bad. Without thinking, I stepped back. He came even closer, his eyes dripping a little lower. Oh god. Should I scream? You're cold, right? Cold? Cold? I crossed my arms over my chest and narrowed my eyes, suddenly worried for an entirely different reason. Here, he wasn't planning to bite me. Part of me wanted to hit him again just for scaring me, or for staring, maybe both. He started to pull off his hoodie. Hang on. I watched him struggle to pull one of his arms through the sleeve. It looked like something had gotten caught in the fabric. My bracelet... It's okay, I can just... No, I mean, just hang on one sec. He has a zip up. Why is he trying to... I can't believe I was actually scared there for a second. This is just Elliot after all. Red World. Aw, look at it. Aha! He finally pulled his arm free and wrapped the hoodie tightly around my shoulders, holding it closed at the neck. That's better, right? I appreciate the gesture, but you don't have to give me this. No, I definitely think you need it. I mean, it's really cold, right? You were rubbing your arms and stuff. Our eyes met, and he looked away quickly. I couldn't see it in the dark, but I was betting he was bright red. And stuff, huh? I held the hoodie tightly closed at the neck, making sure it covered the front well so Elliot wouldn't have to be embarrassed about stuff anymore. Thank you. Hey, I'm really sorry if I interrupted whatever you were doing. I was just worried because you didn't have shoes and it can be dangerous nights, so I followed you. Not that I was trying to stalk you or be creepy. I mean, I was just worried. Don't worry about it. You really didn't interrupt anything. I glanced up toward the houses. I should probably be heading back inside, but I couldn't go back up the narrow path because Elliot was blocking the way. So I guess I'll just head back now. Right, sorry. Elliot stepped to the side, rubbing the back of his neck. I moved past him carefully and started back up the slope to the backyard. He followed right behind me silently, making me feel both awkward and self-conscious. Fortunately, I had my frozen feet to distract me. My toes were stinging with each step. I was really lucky Elliot had stopped me before I'd gotten far. It was pretty amazing what the body could apparently ignore while asleep, like freezing pine needles and dead leaves jabbing into the fleshy parts of my feet. How could I possibly get so far without that waking me? How I could possibly get so far without that waking me up was beyond me. My foot suddenly hit a patch of... Oh no, I'm distracted. Hold on. Oof. My foot suddenly hit a patch of wet leaves. It slipped right out from under me and down I went. Watch out! His arms were suddenly around my waist, keeping me from face planting on the cold ground. I stood there, breathing heavily for a minute as I tried to regain my footing. Jeez, this is not my night. You okay? Yeah, it's just a bit slippery. Too many wet leaves on the path. He helped me right myself before releasing me. You okay now? Yeah. Nice reflexes. Well, I am a vampire after all. In the distance, a loud howl suddenly went up, startling us both. I very nearly jumped right back into his arms. Holy crap, is that a wolf? It didn't sound remotely like a coyote. Probably. Danny aside, there are several werewolf clans in the area. Saying of which, where is Danny? You two are usually together. Full moon. I glanced overhead where it was shining brightly. I hadn't even thought about that. Man, I was really standing outside in my pajamas, talking to my vampire neighbor about my werewolf neighbor howling in the distance. This is my life now. What the actual heck? Yeah, he tends to wander pretty far away from the neighborhood to avoid being seen. A huge wolf in these woods would definitely cause a stir. He wouldn't want to start any weird rumors, for sure. That's probably true. But it was freezing cold, and Danny was apparently wandering miles from home by himself. That was just sad. Must be lonely. Yeah, I think it is. I hang out with him sometimes, but he doesn't really like people seeing him like that. Even me. I didn't know what to say to that, really. He walked me the rest of the way to the back gate. I was careful not to attempt to faceplant on the path again. I set my hand on the latch and turned to him, giving him a sheepish smile. I'm really sorry I hit you. No, it's okay, really. Totally. It's totally okay, really. I wanted to thank him for stopping me before I got into the woods, too, but if I did that, he'd know something wasn't right. Thank him anyway. I decided to thank him anyway. If he hadn't stopped me, who knows where I'd have ended up. Thank you for... He covered up my lips with his fingers before I could finish. It's fine. I'm not that cold anyway. Don't worry about it. You can give it back to me tomorrow. Give it back? Oh. He thought I was about to thank him for the hoodie. Fine then. I'd just leave it at that. Okay. Well, thanks anyway. I said it's fine. Okay. So, good night? Yeah, good night. I let myself back in the gate and stole quietly across the backyard to the house. I looked back once and Elliot was still watching. It wasn't until I stepped through the door that he also headed back to his house. I stood quietly in the kitchen, my back to the door for a moment, trying to settle my thoughts. First, I needed to clean up just a bit. I made quick work of wiping down my feet with paper towels and cleaning up the small mess I'd left in front of the door. And finally, I dragged myself upstairs. Anxiety didn't set in until I was back in my room and had nothing else to occupy my thoughts. I lay in bed staring up at my ceiling. Why was I suddenly sleepwalking? More importantly, why was I leaving the house? I didn't need Elliot to tell me it was dangerous. It didn't matter what time of year it was. Roaming around at night while asleep was going to be dangerous. What should I do about this? Should I tell Mom? What if it isn't just normal sleepwalking? Mom wouldn't be able to help with it, and I just kick up a fuss about something she couldn't do anything about. I didn't want that. The family didn't need drama right after we had just moved back. I could only imagine how they'd assume it was some kind of past trauma or some nonsense like that. I could tell Allie, but then what if it was just normal sleepwalking? Allie wouldn't be able to help with an actual medical issue, and she had enough on her plate at the moment. I wasn't even sure what kind of paranormal phenomenon could make someone start sleepwalking, unless it was some strange fae thing, which I really couldn't rule out, to be honest. I groaned and rubbed my eyes tiredly as I rolled over. A glance at my clock revealed that it was nearly 3 in the morning. I had to be up in a few hours for school. Okay, I am muting a server because it is distracting me. I couldn't solve this problem huddled under my blankets holding back a panic attack. I needed to try to get some sleep so I could think about it rationally later. I'd have to add it to my list of topics to research. More than that, I'd have to put it at the top. This one was important. I shut my eyes and immediately saw Elliot's face. I wonder what he was doing outside in the first place. Not hunting or whatever, I assumed. He'd told me before that it was illegal to bite people without permission. Unless he ate furry woodland creatures, which wasn't really something I wanted to think about. Elliot with his face buried in some poor squirrel's neck, blood dripping down. Ugh, gross. As I drifted off, I tried to imagine what it was like to be a vampire. Does he ever want to bite people? I wonder what that's like. I had to deal with sleepwalking. Danny dealt with wolf transformations. Elliot dealt with things like having to drink blood or having weird cravings. We really are just a bunch of weirdos, aren't we? It was the last thought I had before finally dropping off to sleep. I need a chip. I'm so hungry. Morning came way too soon. When my alarm went off, only the barest hints of light were spreading across the sky. I was not happy. But, driven by the threat of Mom sending Spencer to wake me up, I stumbled out of bed and went through the tedious routine of getting ready for school. As I got my crazy bed hair situated, I stared at my reflection in the mirror, wholly unimpressed with the circles under my eyes. Sleep deprivation definitely did not agree with me. After stopping back by my room to grab my jacket and shoes, I went downstairs for breakfast. Mom was nowhere to be seen, but a plate with eggs and toast was waiting for me on the island. I sighed as I poured myself a cup of coffee. These days, morning always brought with it a confusing combination of tedium and peculiarity. I know English. Everyday life was going on around me, but I had one foot there and one foot in Wonderland. Movies, with their carefully crafted drama, made it seem easy, and here I was, just struggling to manage each day with the least amount of supernatural teen angst. Wearing my 99% human hoodie, feels on brand, I huffed an annoyance as I bit into my toast. I didn't even get to do the cool stuff. The rest of the club members were suddenly busy preparing for Samhain and running around town doing whatever that entailed. I was stuck researching fairies and trying to figure out what the heck I even was. I had offered to help with their preparations, but Allie kept saying I should just focus on learning for now. I could consider interning later. To be honest, I wasn't sure I wanted to intern or anything like that. I just didn't want to feel like I was desperately clutching to the fringes of some strange group without being fully a part of it. Or fully on the outside. Part of me felt left out, and part of me wanted to stop thinking and researching and trying to understand. I just wanted to be immersed to the point I didn't have time to stop and worry about the ins and outs of it all. The others had been doing it so long, it just came naturally. Like Elliot last night. He didn't bat an eye at finding me out here, He didn't bat an eye at finding me out there or hearing a potential werewolf in the distance. I wanted that same level of confidence handling all this. As it was, I was just floundering around like a panicked idiot. I took a long sip of coffee, clutching the mug protectively. At least you're still a blissful constant, my friend. I heard the soft jingle of metal coming down the stairs and expected Spencer to appear cranky and ready to curdle milk with the sheer force of his sour gaze. Instead, it was a familiar brown creature with spindly legs and inky eyes. I watched it prance through the kitchen, Spencer's card keys in tow, and disappear down the hall. Pinching the bridge of my nose, I set my coffee down and waited. 5, 4, 3, 2... The heavy thud of Spencer's feet sounded in the upstairs hall and were coming my way. He was getting a bit faster on the uptake, but apparently still hadn't caught the little brown thing, a household spirit as Allie called it, in the act yet. That was probably for the best, but it meant I usually got the blame for the missing keys, no matter that he couldn't figure out how I managed to sneak into his room and take them without him seeing me. As for the little brown thing, well, I'm sure you can see it because you're also Fae. Where is she? A lot of the houses in our neighborhood seem to have them. They're probably some type of brownie or household spirit, which are basically creatures that get attached to specific houses or families. To be honest, I've caught a glimpse of ours a few times, but for the most part, I can't really see them. Even though you're a cryptic too, or whatever. Just having magic in my veins doesn't mean fairies can't hide themselves from me if they want. I may be a witch, but I'm still also technically human. And as I've mentioned, fairies are secretive creatures. They don't like being seen. So it's a brownie? Probably. I mean, when I think of brownies, I think of delicious baked goods, not naked brown gnome things living in my house. Look at it this way. They're basically like guardians of the household. They do menial tasks and protect the family if you're nice to them. That was how it worked in theory anyway. But if you made them mad, they would prank the hell out of you as punishment. And Spencer had definitely found a way to make ours mad. He reached the kitchen a few seconds later, a scowl already plastered on his face. The keys are missing again. I drained my cup and set it in the sink. Maybe they're in the front cabinet again. Check the front cabinet, that's usually where they seem to end up. The creature had been going that way, so I assumed it put the keys in the usual spot. Hopefully they weren't covered in peanut butter this time, though. Right. Seemed to. Yeah, I knew what he was implying. When you come up with a way that I'm sneaking into your room while you're in it and getting them without you seeing or hearing me, then you can accuse me. Until then, maybe you need to start considering calling an exorcist. What I'm considering is a way to catch you in the act one morning. Good luck with that. I know you're doing it somehow. Right. Maybe I'm using magic, or my alien buddies are helping. I expected him to roll his eyes and stomp away. Instead, he tipped his head back and regarded me seriously through narrowed eyes. Don't think I don't know why you really joined that club at school. What? He stormed out of the kitchen toward the foyer, leaving me contemplating how severe my whiplash was from that change in topic. What did he mean by that? Was he connecting the Mysteries Club with weird things going on at home? That was definitely worrying. I hadn't expected him to make a connection there, not this soon anyway. Though in all honesty, I'd love nothing more than to be able to tell him the truth about everything. But I couldn't do that. It had never been more apparent how poorly that would go over. As much as it frustrated me to have to keep quiet, it was my only option at the moment, which meant dealing with being blamed for the stupid house spirit until I could find a way to appease it. I left my mug in the sink and decided to go out before Spencer came back to continue the argument. I stepped outside, still yawning. As far as mornings went, it could be worse. Still, I could do without nightly excursions into the woods while unconscious, or rather than that, I needed to do without them. I made a mental note to write down what had happened as soon as I got the chance so I didn't forget the details. That weird darkness, the singing, it had felt like a dream. But now that I was able to think about it properly, I guess I'd been at least partially aware that I was walking around outside. I didn't want to forget that detail, because, in addition to my research, I've been keeping track of all the strange things that had started happening to me since last week. I'm so hungry, you guys. I could technically go to the food hall and get dinner right now, and just not participate, but like, free pizza. You know what? We're gonna pause so I can see what my food hall is serving, because I'm curious. We're gonna find out what my food hall is serving for dinner right now, you guys. Crispy chicken tenders. please. I need a snack break. I'll be right back. I'm still eating my chips. There's a lot of chips in here. So I figured I might as well just chat for now. Why do I have so many dropped frames? What's happening? It's fine. Stream's running fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I am a professional. So it's my 3rd week of college. Actually, wait, well, I'm deciding on what I want to talk about. Because I can either talk about college, which is just like general and generic, or I can talk about what it says here, and vampires, but that would mean talking about something. I don't know. If there's anyone in the chat, give me a conversation topic while I eat. When should I end stream? 6:30? I think if I end at 6:45, which is when my dinner is, that'll be fine. So I have like an hour, over an hour still. I could be doing homework. I could be studying or reading or practicing. There's so many other things I could be doing, but I'm sitting eating a bag of barbecue chips in front of a camera because I'm a gamer. I am such a shitty gamer. Okay, I have to mute more servers because I am getting so wildly distracted. I don't have anything to talk about. No one wants to talk to me. I don't know why my OBS keeps telling me that my encoding I'm getting, and look at it's lagging. Why? What am I doing wrong? Huh? What am I doing wrong? There's no way that Changeling except that. Fuck. Like if I open Task Manager right now, that's not what I wanted. How do I open Task Manager? Never mind, that's too much work. What do I talk about? No one wants to talk to me. This is the worst stream ever. I'm so sorry. Listen, it's just that I can't eat and read. Actually, maybe I can. Hold on. It's gonna sound so bad though. Or anything I could remember from my childhood as well. Though I wasn't how... It doesn't work. Though I wasn't sure how reliable my memory was in that regard. Part of me just wanted to... It's not even on screen. Professional streamer, my ass. Part of me just wanted to record it all. But I was also using it to guide my research, since my first few attempts to look up things like getting lost in the woods or getting amnesia hadn't really turned much up. I figured the more things I had to cross-reference, the more likely I'd find something relevant. Anytime I came across something that seemed to apply to my situation and also had something to do with fairies, I marked it down so I could... Oh my god, so I could remember anything that seemed important. I'd only flagged a few things so far though. Far too few for the amount of unanswered questions I had. I'm gonna sneeze. I feel a sneeze. It's going away. Fays were distressingly diverse, and they definitely weren't about fairy dust and granting wishes either. Shoulders drooping slightly, I went to take my usual spot by our front fence to wait for Allie. I leaned against it and let out a long, frustrated sigh. There was the sound of rustling plastic and something heavy falling on the other side of the fence. Curious, I peeked around the corner, surprised when I came nearly face to face with Elliot. His face lit up. Oh, hi! Despite the smile, he looked nearly as tired as I did. Hey, I don't normally see you out at this time. Tossing something in the bins for my mom. He yawned, revealing a quick flash of his fangs before he covered his mouth. Funny. They were so obvious once you knew who was a vampire, but they were kind of shorter than what you'd expect, so most people didn't seem to notice them at all. Oh, shoot, his hoodie! What's wrong? I just realized that I totally forgot your hoodie upstairs. I should go get it. It's okay. I mean, I have other ones. You can give it to me some other time. And indeed, he was wearing another plain black hoodie. Made me wonder how many of those he had. So, did you sleep okay the rest of the night? Not really. I kind of guessed. I look tired, right? Just a little. Yeah, trying to get through school today is going to be so much fun. I know the feeling. Aren't you supposed to not even need that much sleep? Creature of the night and all that? Well, it's not night at the moment. Touché. I'm usually wide awake until about half an hour before Mom gets me up. Is that why you were outside last night? Oh, that, I was just taking a walk, really. After lecturing me about how dangerous it was to be outside alone. Anyway, I was thinking about last night and, Ooh. He staggered forward, nearly face-planting into me. I swiftly dodged, chuckling as the svelte black cat stalked after him, aggressively rubbing itself between his ankles. Is that your cat? Well, kind of, I guess. Bren, knock it off. I laughed as I watched him struggle with the cat, who was very determinedly trying to knock him over. So her name is Bren? I crouched down and held my hand out, but the cat just bowed up and hissed, hopping away from me. Guess she doesn't like me. She just doesn't like strangers. Anyway, we took her in one day. I kind of feel like we never really own cats as much as they own us. That probably goes for most pets. Elliot finally picked her up, setting her on one of the trash bins. She continued to glare at me with those wide yellow eyes before casually licking her paw. Elliot stroked her head gently. So, do you like cats? I do, but Dad's allergic, so we can't have one. But if she's an outside cat, she must be pretty clever to survive out here with all the other wildlife. Yeah, I think they've learned not to mess with her. As the cat and I continued our staring contest, I heard a soft scuffling sound down by our feet. Startled and worried it might be a... Excuse me. Startled... Excuse me. This root beer, man. Pardon me, sorry. Startled and worried it might be a rat or a mouse, I looked down and quickly moved to the side as I tried to seek out what was making the noise. Oh. It was my little household spirit friend. Please tell me it's not bringing the keys out here. What's wrong? He was leaning over to try and see what I was looking at. Hang on. I crouched down again, trying to get a better look at what it was doing, as it attempted to squeeze under the wooden slats of the fence. There was no way I'd be able to explain away the keys being out here with me. The little brown thing was lurking down near the bottom of the fence. It had something in its hands, but I couldn't tell what. I didn't think it was the keychain, though. What is it? It's just something that lives in my house and has taken to bullying my brother. Elliot's cat suddenly hissed and jumped off the bins, eyes glued to the little spirit. She crouched low in the grass, bunching her legs under her. Uh-oh. You might want to run, little brownie. I think the cat wants to eat you. The creature looked straight at me, then the cat. Did I understand that? Given that its voice sounded weird, I wasn't sure it understood English. Clearly it did. It let out an annoyed squeak and suddenly the two of them tore off around the house at a full sprint. Run, little guy! What was that about? I think your cat can definitely see the house spirit, or whatever it is. She chased him off. Oh, you know they say cats have heightened perception and all that. That's why they think cats can see ghosts and things. I have heard that kind of thing, but I didn't think it was real. You'd be surprised at all the weird things that are actually real. Interesting. Anyway, it seems like whatever that thing is, it went away. Yeah. You said it lives in your house? Yeah, Allie says it's a household spirit or something. She can't see it either, though. Just me, apparently. Weird. I think Spencer made it mad somehow. Oh? Well, it keeps hiding his keys. Poor guy. Poor me! He keeps blaming me for it. Oh man, you guys seriously remind me of me and my stepsister. Emily blames me for everything. I'd be really concerned if you guys were as bad as us. He literally hates me. I'm sure he doesn't hate you. Yeah, that's what my parents say. Hey, not to change the subject, but I was thinking about last night. Maybe I'm way off, but were you actually sleepwalking by any chance? I froze. Shoot, he'd worked that out then. He hadn't really seemed too worried about it last night, so I figured he'd just dismissed it, but it looked like he had given it more thought than I expected. I mean, I just thought it because it was so cold and you were out in your pajamas and you didn't have shoes and I couldn't get your attention. The truth is, you walked right past me and didn't seem to notice me. Then you were surprised I was behind you even though I'd called you several times and you looked at me. You didn't mention that last night. Well, it was kind of awkward. You already seemed a little freaked out. I guess I shouldn't have woken you. You're not supposed to wake sleepwalkers, right? But then again, it would have been dangerous to let you go into the woods alone. I didn't even have a defense. He'd already worked it out. I wondered what he'd been doing out there anyway. Yeah. In any case, I much preferred being woken up to being let roam around in the woods at night. Does this happen a lot? Well, not really. It's happened lately a few times. It was the third time since we came back. 3 times in, what, a week and a half? That's pretty frequently. Elliot, look. Can I ask a really big favor? Sure, what is it? Can you keep this quiet for me? I don't want to worry anyone else. I don't really even know what's going on yet, so Allie doesn't know about it? Well, I didn't see a reason to tell her. I was kind of hoping it was just stress or something. I don't mind keeping it quiet, but do you, want me to kind of keep an eye out for you? Since I don't really sleep much anyway, I can keep watch in case you wander out. Maybe wake you up before you get too far. Ow. That was kind of a weird offer, to be honest, but helpful. Yeah, that would actually be great. Chip is. And I don't mind if you wake me up. It's preferable, honestly. He gave me a bright smile, seemingly really pleased to be of use. Alright, I'll keep you in mind. Sorry, I feel bad asking you to do something like that, though. It's really not a problem. I don't mind. I don't want you to go off into the woods and get hurt. Our conversation was cut off by the sound of a car door slamming shut. The engine roared to life, and moments later, Spencer was pulling out of the driveway. He shot me a pretty intense glare before speeding away down the road. Shoot. I hope he didn't hear what we were saying. He looked kind of mad. He always looks like that. As he sped away, another car pulled up in front of the house. It was Allie. She waved at me through the window. I guess it's time for me to go. Remember about the sleepwalking thing? I put my finger to my lips to remind him that I wanted him to keep it quiet, and smiled hopefully. He returned the smile with a goofy grin. No problem. Won't say a word. Thanks. I really owe you one. See you at school. I waved as I climbed in Allie's car. As we drove off, Elliot's car rematerialized at the top of the fence and pounced his head. Elliot's cat, not his car. I laughed quietly as he flailed his arms and nearly fell. What were you and Elliot talking about? He looked really happy about something. Nothing in particular. His cat, my idiot brother, lots of random things. Excuse me. I see. You two look like you get along pretty well. Elliot seems impossible to not get along with, doesn't he? That's probably true. He's just kind of sweet. I was thinking friendly, but okay. You're no fun at all. I'm going to the office. You headed up to the clubroom? Yeah, have fun with your paper filing. Yeah, no. Have fun with your reading. Yeah, no. Since Allie had to arrive early every morning, it gave me a bit of free time to do some research and reading. I'd taken to going up to the clubroom instead of the regular school library. It wasn't particularly fun, exactly, but I'd take any extra research time I could get. As much as I didn't want to put anything on hold for that, I also didn't want to have to take the blame for its pranks anymore. Then I guess sleepwalking. Very sleepwalking. I didn't even know if it was a thing. There was no one in the clubroom when I arrived, which wasn't too unusual. Sometimes I did see Mark, William, or Ewan. Or any combination of the three. Sometimes other students as well. A pink-haired boy named Draken, or a girl named Shelley. Allie told me she was a witch, but I'd never spoken to her. She seemed pretty quiet. At any rate, there was often no one at all, so I wasn't too surprised to find myself alone there. I went to retrieve a few books Vilos had let me take from the library. Sitting in my usual spot on the sofa, I pulled my journal into my lap. I added a few notes about cats and their apparent ability to see fairies. And finally, I added a quick note about sleepwalking again. I tapped my pen thoughtfully on the page before grabbing up one of my research books and opening to the last marked place. If I recalled, there was something in there that might be useful. It is 5:41. I stared down at the header. Crimbles. Apparently a type of changeling. Huh. I knew what changelings were. I flipped a few pages back in my journal and scanned the notes. They were human children that had been replaced with fairies, either babies or an older fae. I didn't like to think about the idea of changelings. Every time I read about them, anxiety stirred in the pit of my stomach. The thought that maybe that was the explanation for my situation was uncomfortable, to say the least. I mean, the idea of being swapped out as an infant and growing up thinking I was someone else entirely... Fortunately, there wasn't much about the topic that matched up. Just one thing about Crimbles that caught my eye. I flipped back to that page and scanned the text. There it was, at the bottom. If the family managed to get their child back, the child would have no memories of their time in fairy, but would retain a sort of vague recollection of beautiful music. Music, huh? Like the singing in my dreams? It wasn't exactly a clear match, but there was a bit of similarity. The rest, though, didn't really align, like Crimbles having a talent for music, which I didn't, or being malformed and ugly. I mean, some people might be willing to debate me on the ugly part, but at the very least, I wasn't malformed. Still, I didn't like having to make connections between myself and this topic, even tenuous ones. Suddenly, the door to the library opened and several people entered the room. I was surprised to see Danny, Elliot, and Mark together. They also seemed surprised to see me. Wait, Elliot was standing in the driveway when Allie and I left. He couldn't possibly have beat us here. Good morning. Again. Hello, Amber. Hi. I watched the three of them suspiciously. You okay? Yeah, just... How on earth did you get here before Allie and I did? We left before you and came straight here. Elliot laughed sheepishly. Danny shot him a knowing look. If that's all, I'll be going down now. Wait, yeah. If that's all, I'll be going down now. You'll be alright? Of course. That's when it hit me that they all look awfully serious. Even Elliot. Wonder what that's about. Mark quickly left, giving me a curt nod as he passed. I watched him disappear into the hall. Is everything okay? Nothing for you to worry about. As I thought. I rolled my eyes inwardly. Nothing for me to worry about, which didn't mean there wasn't something going on, just that it didn't involve me, so I apparently didn't need to know about it. I was almost starting to get used to being shut out of whatever they were doing. Anyway, I have to go find someone, so I'll be leaving. See you in literature. I stared after him with narrowed eyes. Suspicious. What was that about? Nothing important. Vilas was just chatting with us about something. I see. By the way, shouldn't Danny have football practice or something in the mornings? Elliot joined me on the sofa, frowning slightly. Actually, I think Danny's quitting the team. What? It's a long story. Anyway, there's some issues, so he's quitting. He hates confrontation. That sucks. Yeah. His dad's really ticked off. I mean, you know, he had scholarships dependent on it and stuff. I can imagine. I think he'll probably try to see if they'll let him continue to intern down at the agency after graduation. He plans to work for them later anyway. Me too, actually. Whoa, really? I had a hard time imagining Elliot as any kind of agent. Then again, I didn't really have a full grasp of what the agency did. Maybe he'd get a desk job. Though I really couldn't imagine that either. I gave him a curious look. So how did you get here before me? Well, my closet's connected to the club room. I had Corvin set it up. It's way easier to get to school this way, and it means I don't have to leave as early. I let out a long sigh and rubbed my forehead. I need to stop being surprised by everything you people do. It would probably be better for your blood pressure. You keep having all these crazy spikes lately. I narrowed my eyes at him suspiciously. You can tell that? Well, I mean, because your heart rate goes up again. You can tell that? I was going to just write that off as some kind of crazy vampire thing and move on. It's super weird though. So, back on the closet thing. You're not worried someone's going to burst into your room on accident while you're changing? It requires a specific knock and command. You people and your secret knocks. Cork could probably set yours up too. No, I do not need a magic portal to the school in my closet. I am 100% sure my mom would find it. And no one wants that. No one. You laugh now, but if it actually happened, no one would be laughing. She'd freak out, huh? Ugh, I don't even know. If she saw something like that, she might just demand to be the club president or something. My dad, on the other hand, complete freak out. He just laughed. Honestly, your mom sounds amazing. You say that only because you don't know any better yet. I'll keep that in mind. I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were reading, right? He held up a book he'd brought with him from the library. I was going to read a little too. Oh, so what are you reading this morning? I leaned over to look, but he held it off to the side, abruptly turning a rather fascinating shade of red. Nothing, just nothing. Okay, that was an unusual reaction. What is that about? Nothing? Really? Excuse him. Really? I somehow don't think that's true. I mean, why else would he try to hide it? Stretch, big stretch. Oh, my arm cracked. I have to check I have to make sure that I am in fact not called at 6 today. My back itches. Oh, hold on. Oh my god, I get so many emails. Yes! Alright, nice. I am in fact still only called on at 7. I mean, why would he try to hide it? Hold on. Just for a second. Just for a second. Now, if it had been a magazine or something, I just assumed it was something perverted. But it was an old, dusty book with a worn-out brown cover. What could it be? I smirked at him. Don't tell me you're reading old romance novels or something. What? No, it's nothing like that. Really? Then why are you holding it behind your head so I can't see the cover? No reason, just, you know. Well, I understand. If you're reading Jane Austen or something, it might hurt your reputation as a man. Though I personally think men are perfectly able to enjoy Austen now and again. I'm not reading that. I gave him a calculatedly dubious look. Elliot pouted, still keeping the book behind him where I couldn't get to it. You're mean. I've been told that before. I'm starting to doubt Spencer's the evil twin. Hey, now that's below the belt, mister. He grinned at me. You started it. I cracked my knuckles loudly. I can finish it too, you know. He just laughed and didn't seem at all intimidated. In any case, it was getting to be time to head downstairs anyway. I shut my journal and encyclopedia, sliding one into my book bag and setting the other on the coffee table. Going down? Yeah, there are only a few minutes before the bell anyway. I'll come with you. Weren't you going to do some reading? I guess I'll have to do it later. I grinned, and together we left the club. Momo! A blur of black and white flashed towards us from the direction of the stairs. It zipped past me and collided with Elliot. Oof! Oh. I stared over my shoulder at the tangle of limbs on the floor. Brenna. She clung to him gleefully as he tried to pick himself up. Well, I should probably already be used to it by now. Brenna was really odd. Her mood swings were legendary throughout the school. On a given day, you never knew which Brenna you were going to encounter, the nice one or the evil one. There's only one person that could count on encountering nice Brenna, and that was Elliot. She transformed into a completely different person when she was around him. Friendly didn't even begin to describe it. Brenna, hi. She was rubbing her head against his, just like a cat. Wasn't that the name of the cat? In spite of how rude she was most of the time, she had some oddly adorable traits. I edged away from them as two students came from another club room and stared. They whispered quietly as they passed by. Elliot was giving me a pleading look, his eyes definitely screaming, help me, help me. She's the cat. That's her. It's her. I bit back a giggle at his expense. Oh dear. I should probably do the right thing and help him out. So Brenna, she stopped rubbing against Elliot and gave me an annoyed look the moment I spoke. Judging by how she usually treated me, I'd have to say she didn't really like me that much. I wasn't sure why, but it was disappointing since she was also Fae. It would have been nice to be able to talk to her. If looks could kill... well... I haven't had a chance to thank you for helping me out last week. You know, under the bridge with that, Spriggan. Whew, legitimate reason for interrupting them, sort of. At any rate, it gave Elliot the chance to squirm out from under her and stand up. Brenna let him escape and decided to settle for clinging to his arm while glaring at me. I wasn't helping you. It was just fun to stop him from doing what he wanted. I see. Well then, unthank you, I guess? What am I supposed to say to that? I've been thinking, at that time, that thing you said to me, wasn't it a line from a poem? Suddenly there was a heavy weight against my back and two soft hands covered my eyes. Don't look, you mustn't look at goblin men. That's what the old poems say, isn't it? Humans are strangely perceptive at times, particularly in older days. There are many of them who wrote interesting things. Rhyming warnings and proverbs disguised as lullabies are easy to remember for even the most unaware mortals. People like you are easily led astray. That's why it's best if you don't look at them. If you just pretend they aren't there, they may as well not exist. What the heck? I suppose that answers my question, though. But how the heck am I easily led astray? Elliot finally managed to free his arm, so Brenna wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him down for a hug. Or maybe she was strangling him. It was kind of hard to tell. Hope vampires don't need to breathe. I snickered softly. Well, I've done what I could to help him, and now it was getting awkward with Brenna lovingly suffocating him in front of me. I'll just leave you two alone. It's nearly time for class. Elliot finally managed to pry Brenna's arm away from his face. He took several desperate breaths before he disentangled himself and stumbled away from her. I'll come too. Sorry, Brenna, have to go to literature. She shot me a scowl, but I just shrugged. Not my fault he didn't want to be suffocated by a crazy fangirl. Elliot, I left a little something for you on your back porch. Don't forget to eat it when you get home. She left food on his back porch for him? They definitely have a weird relationship. Elliot said a hasty goodbye and followed me down the hall. Brenna watched us for a moment before going into the clubroom. Elliot let out a long, relieved sigh as we headed for the stairwell together. So, I couldn't tell if she liked him or just liked to be mean to him. I wondered if I should give it a poke. Or maybe it would be weird if I did. Momo? Ugh. You have a lot of interesting nicknames. What is it Danny calls you? Mozzie? Yeah, pretty much everyone calls me that these days, except you. What exactly does it mean? You've never told me. It's, do you really want to know? Well, I am kind of curious. Don't laugh, okay? You have my word. It's just slang for mosquito. No laughing. What kind of slang is that? Australian. Apparently they really like to shorten words a lot. Does that have anything to do with you being a vampire? Yes, and it's courtesy of my stepsister. Ah, that made sense. He had mentioned that his stepdad and stepsister were Australian. They'd lived in the States for a long time, though. That apparently hadn't killed their knack for adorable slang. Still, mosquito. That's terrible. But so funny and adorable, too. See, you're laughing. This is why I didn't want you to know. No, it's just, I totally get the silly nickname thing. Spencer used to call me Snora, you know, before he decided he hated me. Not that I snore, for the record. Of course you don't. Now he mostly calls me loser or something. So I guess I should have appreciated Snora while it was still a thing. Which is seriously uncool, by the way. I shrugged. So anyway, what about Momo? Oh, that's just Brenna shortening Mozzie even further. A nickname of a nickname? I shook my head, grinning. So, should I take to calling you Mozzie too? No, well, he gave me a hopeful smile. I kind of prefer for you to call me by my name. I looked away, trying to ignore the heat creeping into my cheeks. That kind of made me a little happy, though. If you insist. The two of us headed down the class, and pretty soon, the morning's events were lost in the general business of school. Days were passing so quickly. Maybe because of the pressing need to find answers and the limited time I had to do it. Even so, by the time I was dropping off unneeded books at my locker that afternoon, I was definitely ready to go home. But the time after school when I was supposed to be doing club activities was useful research time. I swear though, if Vilos makes me clean up again, okay, I'm just gonna down the rest of these chips. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Webcam. There we go. Ugh. It is 5:57. I'd say I have like 30 minutes. I swear though, if Valos makes me clean again. I slammed my locker door inside. Aren't you supposed to be going up to your club with all your new friends? I rolled my eyes and turned around. Aren't you supposed to be going to work so you can finish serving out your sentence? You know, you might want to double check you're even having club activities today. I was up there just now and no one was there. What are you doing hanging out by my club? Spencer shrugged as he passed. Just curious. Well, it's none of your business if it was cancelled today or not. He didn't respond to that, but just walked past me into the front door. I watched him go, frowning. So he was going to snoop around the club then. He was definitely suspicious. I didn't know if he was more suspicious of me because of the club, or if he was suspicious of the club because I was in it. Either way, I wasn't sure how their protective spell was going to hold up against his snooping. Excuse me. Ali had said we might want to test the waters to see if he needed to be brought into the club as well, but I didn't know how he'd react to finding out about all of this. Even so, I was also unsure how long we'd be able to put off telling him about it. If he was already checking out the club, then I doubted I could keep the secret from them for long. When did he turn into such a Sherlock Holmes? Well, Sherlock, but short and cranky. Also not attractive. Or British. Maybe he was more like Shaggy Rogers. I snickered to myself and went up to the club room, readying myself for an afternoon of cleaning and reading until Allie got back. Chapter 2, Elliot's Route, a sense of belonging. Okay, so I guess I've somehow just triggered Elliot's route, and that's what I'm going down now. I don't think the routes can change. So I think we're just committing to Elliot now. But that, like, but then how do you get the other characters? Whatever. I yawned as I flopped into the front seat of Allie's car. Good morning. That is not her voice. Well, it's morning anyway. Not sure about the good part. Oh, really? I shot her an annoyed look. You know I'm not a morning person. True, but I see Elliot was waiting for you again this morning. His adorable smile didn't brighten up your day. I lifted an eyebrow and bit back another yawn. I glanced back toward the fence as Allie pulled away, catching a flash of purple as Elliot's head vanished on the other side. I don't know about waiting. He was taking some recycling out for his room. Oh, is that what he was doing yesterday too? I guess. She continued to give me that knowing smirk and I rolled my eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? Oh, no reason. She looked like she was holding in a laugh at my expense, but I had no idea what her deal was. I had a feeling I didn't want to ask, not unless I wanted to endure some of her teasing. And it was too early for that. I yawned for the third time, trying to keep myself from being lulled to sleep by the soothing hum of the car. Still having weird dreams? Yeah. Not that the dreams were the problem, more the walking around outside while having them that was causing distress. I shot Allie a sidelong look. No offense, but you look pretty tired too. I hope the agency isn't working you guys too hard. Allie made a face, scrunching up her nose as if I'd mentioned something distasteful. How's that going anyway? Well, the agents are freaking out about a case that's come up, so we interns are getting to do all the dirty work this year. What kind of case? And by the way, dirty work makes it sound like you're hiding bodies for the mafia or something. Has anyone ever told you that you have a way overactive imagination? You've told me that before. She laughed. Unfortunately, the dirty work we do is nowhere near that exciting. I wouldn't consider body hiding exciting, but okay. Anyway, I don't have a lot of details on the case yet, and we're not supposed to talk about it, really. I made a face at that. Sorry. It's okay, I understand. But it's probably better if I don't know anyway. Who even knows what all you people deal with? It's probably non-stop near apocalypses and dark wizards. You'd be surprised. I scoffed openly at that. Nothing can surprise me anymore. I somehow doubt that, MC. You think that now? Whoa. Oh well. Anyway, how do I see? Alright. Can I like go back? Nope. That's all pretty routine stuff. Since magic overflow can usually stir up a lot of cryptic activity, we're just going around to check on things like inactive gates that get enough juice to open it. Or making note of any unusual cryptics that have washed into town on the currents. That happens a lot too. We call them drifters, and most of them are kind of weird. Anyway, it's a lot of walking around and looking at stuff. Sounds boring when you word it like that. Exactly. She glanced my way, frowning. You okay? You seem kind of down. It's nothing. I mean, I guess I feel a little left out is all, and I'm not making much headway in my research. Plus, Vilos keeps making me clean up after you guys. That's Vilos for you. Yeah, well, the next time he says, I trust you can... What's Vilos sound like? Russian? Was he Russian? No, he was Scottish. Was he Scottish? Russian? Scottish? English? What was he? Scottish? I trust I can expect you to straighten the room while everyone is out. I don't fucking know accents. I rolled my R's heavily, mimicking his accent now. I trust that you can... I will definitely smack him in the face with one of the sofa pillows. I would literally pay money to see that. If it makes you feel better, once Halloween and Samhain are over, we'll all be spending less time at the agency and more time hanging out in the club. I can even help you with your reading. It would be way more convenient if they had just a class on this stuff or something. They actually did consider adding one, but it was kind of hard to make a cover story about it being a weird elective. I mean, they have to have a valid reason to keep normal students from signing up for it, which kind of raised some eyebrows since it's difficult to justify some kind of exclusive class that everyone can participate in. Maybe just make a database where people can search information easier? There is one actually, but it's not available to the public. What? That's not fair. Well, there are some agreements in place. A lot of races don't actually want information about their weaknesses and such to get out, you know? Guess that's understandable, but it's kind of shocking some tech-savvy cryptic hasn't put all this on the internet anyway. The Athenaeum, Vilos' library, is the most complete source of information in the world. How easy do you think it is to get books out of there? He lets me borrow them. Yeah, because you're taking them to the school where he works part-time. Not going to be that easy for others. I guess you're right, but still. Not that people haven't tried, but they crack down on it pretty fast. And besides, reveal the wrong secrets and don't cover your tracks well enough, someone's going to show up to your front door ready to make you vanish. Yikes. People in this community have a pretty strong sense of self-preservation. Seems like a lesson most probably learn pretty fast. Usually. Allie patted my shoulder. Look on the bright side. It's been a week and you haven't nearly died yet. That's great. That's horrible. How on earth is that something to celebrate? She just laughed while I fretted that going a week without a near-death was apparently something worthy of note on this side of things. Has he always looked like that? When I got up to the clubroom that morning, the only other person there was Draken. I loitered in the door uncertainly for a moment. He was another club member I didn't know extremely well. He showed up in the club sometimes, but didn't seem to really be involved in agency-related things like the others. At any rate, I never saw him go off with them in the afternoons. Other than the fact that he was a grade below us and apparently had naturally pink hair, I really knew nothing about him. I stepped inside cautiously. He didn't look up when I entered. He was sitting on the sofa and looked to be sketching something in a notebook. My interest was piqued, as it always was when I met another person who was into art, but I reminded myself I was there to study. I wasn't going to let myself get distracted. I went to get my books, then sat in one of the wingback chairs opposite the sofa, but as much as I was trying to ignore him, I couldn't help but study Draken at least a little. I mean, he had waist-length pink hair. That was worth spraying a little attention for. As if aware I was watching him, Draken looked up and smiled. I flushed slightly, having been caught staring. I smiled back, trying to play it cool. What does he sound like? I didn't hear you come in. I know that feeling. I get pretty absorbed in my art when I'm drawing too. You like art? Really? His entire face lit up like a puppy that had just been given a new toy. His own sketchbook was immediately forgotten. Can I see your drawings? Do you have any with you? I guess so. I mean, I do have my sketchbook here. He eagerly held his hands out, and, still promising myself I wasn't going to be distracted by this for very long, I dug in my book bag and relocated to the sofa as I handed it over to him. I watched him carefully as he slowly flipped through. It always made me anxious when people looked at my drawings. If they didn't react at all, I worried they thought my art was bad. If they did react, it drove me nuts because I wanted to see what they were reacting to and ask why they were reacting that way. I tried to sit calmly while he looked, wondering if I should just leave him be and go try to do some reading instead. You sketch a lot of portraits. Yeah, I like drawing faces. I can tell. You're good at it. Who's this girl here? You draw her a lot. I took the sketchbook from him and studied the drawing he was referring to. I had been drawing her a lot lately, a white-haired figure with piercing eyes and a pair of small horns curling around the sides of her head. She was... I wasn't sure. A figment of my imagination, I guess. Just a figment of my imagination. Just sort of like a character, I guess. I don't know when I started drawing her. A long time ago. I've drawn her off and on for years. I guess she represents everything I think is mysterious about the world. She's beautiful. He smiled at me sweetly. She looks kind of like you. I don't know about that. As Draken and I were bent over my sketchbook talking, the door to the library opened. I looked up at the sound and saw Elliot standing there watching us with a strange look on his face. I smiled when I saw him. Good morning. Hi, Elliot. Hey, good morning. He shot us the usual characteristic grin and came inside, shutting the door behind him. I closed the sketchbook and stretched. I could go for a coffee right about now. Draken made a face. But it's so bitter. I live for coffee. He just shook his head as he stood up and stretched. Leaving? Yeah, I'm going to go down now. Ember, thanks for showing me your artwork. You have to show me yours sometime as well. I will. He waved and left us there. I started gathering up my things, kicking myself for getting precisely 0 reading done. I said I wouldn't get distracted, and I totally got distracted. This is the worst place for reading sometimes. Maybe I needed to start going to the library instead. Somewhere nice, quiet, and boring. Elliot leaned on the back of the sofa and watched me slide my sketchbook back into my bag. So, you two were looking at your art? Excuse me. Yeah, it came up and he wanted to see some of my sketches. Can I see them? No. He jumped as I spoke way too loudly, more so than I had intended. No, I mean, there's no time right now. The bell's about to ring, so we should go down. Right. Ugh, I rejected that way too fast. I couldn't tell him I didn't want him to see because there were drawings of him in there. Not that it meant anything, but I felt like it would be weird. He'd definitely get embarrassed. Then I'd get embarrassed. Then it would be awkward. It wasn't like he was the only club member I'd drawn. He was just in there a lot more than the others. I just sort of liked drawing his face. I hadn't thought much about letting Draken see. As someone who liked to draw, he'd get it. But I didn't want Elliot to get the wrong idea. I cleared my throat and smiled as I stood. Want to walk down with me? Sure. So, are you just getting here, or were you in the library with Phylos again? We usually do a check-in with him in the morning, just in case he has any work for us here at school. I don't know if Allie mentioned, but we kind of keep an eye on things here as well. I mean, just making sure the rest of the cryptic students are keeping to the rules and stuff. Just how many cryptics are there at school? I mean, I know there are a lot that don't come to the club. Technically, all of us have to join the club as a way to just make sure we're registered and stuff. But yeah, there are quite a few more in high school, and a few known ones in the middle school wing. I'd say close to 60 of us in the high school. Whoa, that many? Well, quite a few are weak espers. They're sensitive enough to the paranormal to count, but that's about it. There are more vampires than any other group, actually. Seriously? Well, there's a pretty strong community here in... He trailed off as someone came out from one of the hallways and joined us on our way down. Someone I didn't recognize. A teacher, maybe? From the way Elliot trailed off, I assumed he wasn't one of the cryptic staff. Mozzie, hey there, how are you this morning? Elliot gave the man a sheepish smile. A little tired. Aren't you always? I'm surprised to even see you before class starts. There was a time I was pretty used to catching you sneaking your way to first period late. I raised an eyebrow. Based on his looks and demeanor, he struck me as one of those teachers trying way too hard to be cool and relatable. Didn't help that he seemed pretty young. Late 20s at the very most. He caught me looking his way and smiled. And you're Amber Lewis, aren't you? Yes? Should I know you? Well, it would be nice, but I guess it's not a requirement. I'm Grant Mitchell, school psychologist. I had to fight to keep my expression neutral when he said psychologist. I didn't quite succeed. Your brother made the same face when I introduced myself to him. He offered his hand and I eyed it warily before finally forcing myself to take it out of a sense of politeness. You introduced yourself to Spencer? Why? No need to look at me like that. I introduced myself to all the new students. You two are really alike, aren't you? I don't know about that. I just know Spencer hates psychologists more than I do. I can imagine. I gave him a sharp look, but he held both hands up sheepishly as if to fend off the stare. I just looked into your records a little. I think it's pretty normal given the rumors flying around the first week at school. Wanted to make sure I was prepared in case either of you needed to talk. I don't think you should expect either of us to come talk to you. That's what your brother said. I'm just here to help, though. Yeah, we've both heard that before. I quickened my pace, reaching the bottom before him. Elliot hurried to catch up. Grant stopped just below the bottom landing and didn't follow us down the hall. In any case, it seems like you're settling in pretty well. Looks like you're already joined a club and everything. Paranormal Mysteries, right? That's where you two are coming from? I cast a long look over my shoulder. Something about the way he was watching me. Yeah. I guess your brother didn't join it with you. There's no rule that says he has to. Of course not. I just figured since you're twins and all, you must be pretty close. Well, looks like you're wrong on that front, too. It happens. Anyway, you two better head to class before you're late. But remember, you can always talk to me if you need to. Right, I'll remember that. I had no intention of actually going to talk to him, ever, and I doubted Spencer would either. But if being polite would get him off my case, I was okay with that. Elliot and I left him there and started down the hall. Grant didn't follow us this time. We walked silently for a moment before Elliot leaned down worriedly. Hey, are you okay? Huh? Sure, why? Well, I don't know. When Grant said he was the school psychologist, I guess you seemed a little upset. He frowned thoughtfully. Upset isn't really the right word. Maybe guarded or something? Spencer and I haven't exactly had great experiences with psychologists. When you encounter one bad one, it's hard not to be suspicious of them all after that. I have a bit of a knee-jerk negative reaction, that's all. That makes sense, I guess. Sorry if I seemed rude. I just wasn't expecting it, that's all. Hey, I don't think you were rude or anything. That's not it. I mean, I wasn't trying to imply that. Well, I try. Spencer's worse than I am. I mean, he had it a lot worse than I did back then, too. But I still don't like them or that look they always give you, like they think you're hiding something. And I don't like that he looked at our records either. There are some things I just wish would stay buried. I totally get that, though for the record, I don't think Grant's a bad guy. Most students seem to like him. You don't have to be a bad person to make mad decisions or say hurtful things. Sometimes I think that the reason Spencer's the way he is now is because of the way some of the psychologists he worked with treated him. They seemed to just make the whole thing worse, always digging, trying to uncover what they thought we were lying about. So I don't have a lot of faith in that profession, you know? Having someone waltz up to me and act like he can solve all of my problems. Call me a cynic, but yeah, right. I understand. Anyway, I take it he's not, you know, a cryptic? No, definitely not. Just another reason to keep my distance then. Not like he could help me with anything anyway. When we reached literature a few minutes later, there was a bit of a fuss going on. It seemed like we were having a seat reassignment since we were starting a new play. To my great delight— oh, wait, is this the class that I was in with— what's his name? I was seated by Allie this time. I slid into my new desk and shot her an excited grin. Hey, buddy! Seated behind us were Mark Lowe and Danny. Elliot was all the way across the room from us, seated next to a boy I didn't know. He shot a forlorn look as he slid into his desk. Allie leaned around me and waved at him. Now that is just the saddest look I have ever seen. Yeah, poor guy. I waved, but it didn't seem to cheer him up at all. I spent the rest of class trying really hard not to look like I was having too much fun. Between the butchering of Shakespeare behind us and Allie's continual snickering, it was pretty hard, though. The rest of the morning went by pretty quickly considering how tired I was. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Trig was the usual blur of numbers and triangles. Chemistry was the usual blur of symbols and science stuff. I was able to ignore Spencer through both. Lunch was a welcome reprieve. My usual table was with Danny and Elliot. They had adopted me into their group during the first week, and I'd gotten in the habit of eating with them each day. The friends were a little loud, but they were a fun, friendly bunch. When I arrived, I was surprised that Elliot was nowhere in sight. He was usually one of the first ones there. I slid into my usual seat next to Danny and nodded to the empty chair on my side. No Elliot today? He had to go to the library. Elliot did. Man, I didn't think he even knew where the library was. I raised an eyebrow at Danny. He has to check out a book or two? He needed to talk to Vilos. The super hot library assistant? I don't think I've ever seen him talk to anyone. Super hot? Vilos? Really? Mildly attractive at best. Then again, I might have been letting my recent annoyance with him cloud my judgment. Regardless, a chat with Vilos meant it was something club-related. Or at least supernatural related. I gave Danny a sidelong look. He looked weirdly serious. Wonder what that's about. So Danny, you planning to come to the party this year? The conversation dissolved into a conversation about a party Danny wasn't going to, and James subsequently trying to cajole him into it. I listened casually for a bit while picking over my lackluster lunch. Even though everyone was chatting noisily, it still felt weirdly quiet without Elliot next to me making dumb jokes in my ear. And the warm cafeteria was making me sleepy. The lack of sleep was definitely catching up to me. Man, I really need a nap. Hey, Earth to Amber, you still with us? I was asking if you'd like to come to the party this year. You're invited, you know. Oh, I don't think so. I highly doubt my mom is going to let me do anything like that anyway. She likes us home for most holidays. Come on, you two. I hope you two know this is our last Halloween party of high school and you are missing out. Sorry, James. I gathered my tray and stood. Leaving already? Yeah, not really hungry. I'll see you guys later. I'm going to walk around a bit before I fall asleep. I shot Raina a smile as I went to toss my trash and head out. I stepped into the hall and let out a long sigh. I just needed to wash my face and wake up a bit. The day was half over, but government was already a bit of a snooze fest, even on a well-rested day. It's true, I'd never make it through at this rate. Coming through. Oh, it's him. I forgot what voice I gave everyone. The door to the lunchroom burst open behind me, and Corvin flew out, swinging around me precariously. Sorry, excuse me. He bolted past me, shooting me a quick wave as he fled down the hall. Wonder where he's off to in such a hurry. Honestly, I really wondered how the Paranormal Mysteries Club managed to keep their secret, given how weird everyone in it was. Sure, there were rumors, but they were just rumors, nothing more than that. Maybe Vilos just erases everyone's memories all the time. That was probably a full-time job in itself. I smiled to myself as I headed for the nearest bathroom, hoping some cold water would help wake me up before art. I leaned over the sink, rubbing the water out of my eyes. Just had to make it to study hall, where I could, conceivably, sleep without being noticed. I yawned and reached for the paper towels to pat my face dry. I tossed them in the bin and looked at the mirror to give my hair a quick check. Oh, what was... For a split second, my eyes... I blinked several times. It was already gone. For just a second, they shone blue. Leaning closer to the mirror, I tilted my head to the side, wondering if it was just a trick at the glass. Maybe the lighting was weird or something. I looked overhead with a frown. I could have sworn... With all the weird things that had popping up around the school lately, I was overthinking things. Something like that probably wouldn't have even caught my attention before. Now, I was half convinced every little thing was supernatural. Of course, it was probably natural to question things now, knowing what I did. But I wished I could go back to when the tricks of light were just that, and I didn't pay attention to this sort of thing. Kind of hard to do when those shadows and blips of movement out of the corner of my eye had a tendency to turn into faces leering at me from the trees and figures sweeping through the shadows at the end of dark hallways. I rubbed my eyes. Maybe I was just tired. At the very least, the shock had definitely woken me up a bit. The bell rang a few seconds later, and I got my things together to head to art. I glanced back at the mirror once on my way out. Weird. The afternoon went by quickly, thankfully. I managed to survive class, and I spent my free period in the school library reminding myself that some people actually went to school to learn about normal things, not weird, supernatural stuff. After the final bell, I stopped by my locker before starting up to the clubroom. It would be so nice if it was down on the first floor. And not just because I was too tired for the stairs. There actually was an elevator. It was creepy as heck, though. I had tried it once out of sheer laziness. It was fine until it passed the third floor. I couldn't say what went wrong at that point. The air just got heavier and heavier, and I kept hearing weird noises like something scratching around in the elevator shaft. By the time it stopped, I couldn't wait to get off. It also opened into the darkest part of the fourth floor. Nothing beats feeling like a total Nothing beats feeling like a total idiot while you bolt for the lighted areas because it feels like something is right behind you the whole time. It actually wasn't just the fourth floor that was weird. I guess you could call it the epicenter, but the entire school was a little weird. There had always been stories about the haunted bathroom, or the voices you'd hear in the gym, or the ghosts on the stairs, typical stuff. But now that I was in the Mysteries Club, I kind of just noticed things. Aside from the obvious lurky cryptics I'd catch moving around in the corner of my vision or whatever, I'd also noticed all sorts of weird drafts, strange noises, dark corners that seemed to just draw you in if you looked at them too long, or classrooms and hallways that just felt off. It was all stuff normal people shrugged off, or that the paranoid few started new stories over. I still didn't really know how much was really paranormal. And how much was just my imagination. When class was in session, I was able to feel a little normal again in spite of a few little weird things that cropped up here and there. It wasn't until after school that illusion crumbled, especially the higher up I went in the northeast wing of the school. I was kind of getting used to it though. Still hadn't exactly started to like it yet, but it was becoming part of my normal in a way. That just means my normal is getting weird though. I'm gonna pause because my voice is tired and I just need to vibe before I continue through the rest of my day. So we're gonna... Yes. Bam. Bam. Music. Bam. Nice. Well, that was more of Changeling. I'm so tired. Oh my god, sorry. My voice is tired. Sorry for eating in the middle of the stream. But I was hungry because I didn't have lunch. Did I have lunch? Wait. Did I eat today? No, I had breakfast. I had like a breakfast sandwich and then I skipped lunch. Why did I skip lunch? Yeah, actually no, it wasn't that I skipped lunch, it was that my breakfast and lunch. I had brunch. And then dinner's in 20 minutes. So I was hungry. And now I'm tired, and I have rehearsals until late night, and it's only Thursday. I have class tomorrow. I'm tired. Thank you for watching. Visual novels are exhausting, but it's okay. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna get to the meat of the story because it seems fun, and I want to know everything about my character. And I want to fall in love with Elliot, and I want to talk about vampires. I love vampires so much, you guys. It's insane how much they're just so cool. Vampires are such a cool concept, and like there's so many different versions of them. Like, you know, you have the romantic Twilight vampire where they're like sparkly and have superpowers and like are hot and pale as fuck. Or you have like fucking Dracula, like OG, like old and regal-ish and like whatever, and like then you can make your own vampire. Like anyway, vampires are just really cool, and I love them. I love the concept of vampires so much, and I'm excited to see how much this game plays with that and what else it has in store for us in regards to cryptics in general. But for now, I'm going to leave it off because I need rest before I continue with the rest of my day. I will see you probably next Thursday. If not next Thursday, then some Thursday in the future. If you want to stay updated, join the Discord, because that is where I first announce when I'm going to stream, when I plan on streaming. It's the best place to keep updated and notified. You can also follow my Instagram and Twitter and other social medias. I'm not very active on them, but you can be notified there too. Thank you if you are consuming this media in any way, if you are here right now, if you were here earlier in the stream, if you are lurking, if you are watching the VOD. I don't care. Thank you for hanging out. You get a fresh baked cookie off the cookie table. It can be whatever cookie you want. It can be your favorite cookie, a cookie you're craving, or you can make up your own cookie. Get creative and let me know if it tastes good. What else? I think that is everything for now. I'm gonna go like nap for 10 minutes and then have pizza and then have rehearsal and then continue being a college student who has homework and other shit. I don't have French tomorrow. Anyway, okay, goodbye. I love you guys. Bye, see you.